We are live for another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC 315. This won't be the first time you hear from me this week. We do have the panel on Thursdays, as always, with my guy 138 MMA. Make sure you check that out. I believe he's got some dope guests for us on Thursday, and that will be on his channel for this one. The odd cards are on his channel. The even ones are on mine for the panel. And then I believe I'll be on Wager Wars this week. I don't know exactly against who, but I think it's going to be tomorrow. So make sure to check that out. I'm undefeated so far, and I'd like to keep that going. And yeah, we'll do a quick recap of last week, which didn't go too great. And then we'll jump right into the cards. So let's start with the recap. And let's try to make today a little bit, more active. Last week, it was a very sleepy chat. We got to bring back. I like when it's fun. If you talk to me, let me know if I'm being stupid. Let me know what bets you guys like. Let me know if you agree with my reasoning. If I have poor reasoning, let's talk it out. It's a lot more fun that way. And let's see what we can do. So let's recap last week first. So last week, we had UFC Des Moines. And I didn't do that great. While I talk, I'm going to pour myself out a shot because it's been a long day, and I would like to drink a little bit for my show to come down a little bit. So we're going to pour a shot while I talk. Okay. So the first money line I had was Daniel Marcos plus 170. I did not expect that fight to go the way it did. I did not expect him to be offensively wrestling and to actually find success offensively wrestling. Definitely didn't see that one coming. But overall, I don't think that was a great bet at plus 170, especially because my read of the fight was completely wrong. I thought that Marcos would be anti-grappling, and turns out he's the one grappling. So didn't have a good read there. Then I had Cameron Smotherman for 1 unit at plus 135. Another bad play. Sidney's just too well-rounded and in a close line. Like, I should have leaned towards the guy who's more well-rounded. I think I rushed it a little bit and underrated Sergey a little bit. So that was my own fault. I did cash on Quang Lee against Gaston Bolaños at plus 120. That was a great bet. He covered by quite a bit. He looked like the favorite. He got the grappling going and he got the sub. So the read there was correct. Then I had a parlay. It was a 2-card parlay. The first one was Ikram Aliskerov 2 weeks ago. And then Robertson closed it off. That was 3.5 units to win 2. That cashed. But then I had another parlay on this card for 2.44 units to win 2. And that one went horribly, because both Ivana Petrovic and Bo Nickel lost, and they both lost pretty significantly. I mean, Petrovic, it was a relatively close fight, and she was a few mistakes away from actually winning it. The Bo Nickel one was, oh boy, I can't believe myself, because I've been waiting to fade Bo Nickel to the point where I'm pretty sure I had a bet on Zach Borrego by knockout, if I'm not mistaken, on Bo's first Contender Series appearance. But then he gets the RDR, and I'm like, oh, let's parlay Bo. So terrible decision by me. I deserved that loss. And then I had Loader by decision for a half unit at plus 650, which really upset me. Not because it lost, but because my initial read, and I'm pretty sure I said it on my stream on Tuesday, was Bukowski KO. And then as the week progressed, I convinced myself onto this Loader decision prop, which got cooked because Loader has his chin up in the air like this. So that sucked. And it was a lesson learned, because I need to stick to if I have a gut read on something, I'm either going to play it or I'm going to leave it alone. I'm not going to bet against it, because that never, ever works out for me. And that was a perfect example there. And then I had Tate by decision at plus 140 for 1 unit. I mean, what can I even do? What can I even say? In the third round, she looked exactly of how I thought she'd look the rest of the fight, but she just couldn't get her game going before that, and she lost. And I know a lot of us were on her in some fashion, so that sucks for the whole community, but it is what it is. Ended up down minus 2.68 units, which isn't that bad, but we're now on a 5-event losing streak if we're counting PFL and 1 FC and all the regionals, I bet. That's 5 losing cards in a row, 2 losing UFC cards, and I really don't like that. I really want to turn it around. As of now, I still have an 11% ROI on the year. Still up 20. No, I think it's less. I think now it's 19 units. And my goal this year was to keep a double-digit ROI. So I really, really want to turn it around. I want to get back in the win column, and I'm hoping to do so today with you guys. So please be active with me, talk with me. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. It all really, really helps a smaller channel like mine. And yeah, let me pull up the fights now and we can jump into it. I didn't take my shot yet, so I'm going to do that now. If you guys are drinkers or drinking, cheers. If not, cheers anyways. Happy Tuesday. Cool. And we'll do another one of those when we start the main card because it's a pay-per-view. It's a good reason to celebrate. It's a pay-per-view. All right. Let me pull up the fights. Here we go. Oops. Thank you guys for bearing with me today. Moved the show back to 8 o'clock. That's our new start time, but where I live, it's very hard to find parking. Very hard to find parking. I was searching for parking for about 45 minutes today, and that's why I was a little bit late. But here we are, better late than never. Am I right? Let me open up these. I can't believe they did this, by the way. We're going to talk about it when we get there, but my God. And I'll come catch up with the chat in a second before we jump into it. All right. Beautiful. Look at these guys. Look at these guys. All right. Let's catch up with the chat. Michael B. Gamblin. What's up, Michael? Cutelaba fight week. His sub is plus. Let's run it back. He's referencing my Cutelaba round 1 sub against Ibo Aslan. That's his name. I always mistake him with Urslan, who's also on the card. But yeah, he's talking about that when I cashed the plus 2,100 on the round 1 sub. I don't have the same read for this fight, so I don't think I'll be there. But if you take the shot, I hope you cash. Azzy in the chat. What's up, Azzy? What do you think on the Santos Lee fight? Choosing a winner or over 1.5? Well, let's talk about it when we get there, huh? Michael drinking with me. Let's go, Michael. No one expected. There were some people on RDR. You got to give them credit. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a very, very good read. And in hindsight, an easy bet to make on RDR, but hindsight's 2020, right? Michael B. Ganlin saying he survives Borrego. I thought, literally, man, Borrego's legit. No, no, he's not. Bukov under 2.5. Did you bet that? That's a good bet if you did. Oh, Bezkat under 2.5. Look at me. My reading comprehension is off today. Bezkat under 2.5. Interesting. If Tate fight was 5 rounds, she would have won. Who knows, man? I mean, maybe, but I don't know what that was. I don't know why she, like, once she finally did it, she was so dominant. It's just like, oh, are you kidding me? All right, let's jump into the card. So first fight of the night, we've got Brad Katona versus Bezkat Almakhan. Katona, he's going to be 14-4-0, 33 years old, 5'6" with a 64.5-inch reach. Bezkat, 11-2-0. He's going to be 27, so he is 5 years younger. No, 6 years younger. He's going to be 1 inch taller, and he's going to have a 3.5-inch reach advantage. What's up, Irish? Saying, shout out Dogfather. I think you mean Bukov, right? Not Bezkat. But I mixed them up too just now. All right, so for this fight, I spent over 2 hours on this fight today. I sent the longest notes that I've ever written, I think ever, to my Discord today, to my paid subscribers. And by the way, if you want my bets, my notes, my breakdowns, all of that is behind a paywall. Dub Club, the link is in the description of the video. Couch Warrior Pod is the promo code to get you 20% off. Haven't been doing too great recently, which kind of sucks when I'm charging people money, but I'm trying to turn it around. So hopefully now is the right time to get in. You can get all my bets there. Overall, I'm still up on the year. Still having, I think it's a 11% ROI now on the year. So still pretty good. Just want to, break the recent trend of going down a little bit. But if you want my bets, my notes, my breakdowns, that's where you can find them. You can still join the Discord for free, the free section. There's still 300 of us in there that are there for free, and they're just talking fights. We talk fights all day, every day, regionals, UFC, all that stuff. And the link to the free portion of the Discord is also in the link of the description. And let's get it. So, like I said, I spent a ton of time on this fight, and the reason I did is because, to me, What stuck out right away is Katona at plus money against a guy in Almakhan who's still, a relatively unknown commodity, a guy whose only UFC fight was losing to Umar Nurmagomedov very dominantly outside of him knocking Umar down in the first round. And, Katona's beat these guys before. Katona's beat these regional Russian guys before. I forget what the guy's name was before the Ultimate Fight. There he is. Gamzat Magomedov. That's a win he had. I wouldn't say he's the same as Almakhan, but Russian wrestlers, I guess is what I'm saying. Timur Valiev on the Ultimate Fighter, he did beat him. Some people didn't think that he did. I necessarily didn't think that he did, but still a very close fight and a good performance from him. My point is, pre-tape, I was thinking like Katona should be the side here at plus money because he's fought and beaten guys like this. He's fought the much higher level of competition. And this guy so far, he's a favorite. He's a significant favorite over Brad Katona off of a loss. His only UFC appearance was against Umar and he lost it. And we talk about it all the time. We have to get off this trend of overrating losses. So I went into it and I pretty much wasted 2 hours because I didn't waste it, but I came out of it thinking dog or pass. I'm actually picking Katona to win because I'm leaning his way, but I can't get to it because his margins are so low. And like, to me, what does a Brad Katona win look like? It looks like a 29-28 close decision win. And do I want to bet on that? Not really at plus 140, even if I'm picking him to win the fight, because I'm also picking him to win off of things like, experience and better competition and the unknowns of Bezkat. So I'm trying to leave myself some room for error here. I'm not super confident in picking Katona outright. I'm definitely not, because let's break it down piece by piece, right? So Almakhan, I'm looking at his past performances, his regional opponents. In terms of the level of competition, not the highest, but not the lowest either. They're competent. Like a lot of them are competent guys, good fighters. The one loss he has, the Ulu fella, that guy's really good. And that fight actually played out pretty interesting if you watched it. What happened was Almakhan actually knocked him down immediately, similar to how he did with Umar, but it wasn't a big shot. It was like a 1-2 down the pipe, knocked him down. And that guy had very little success actually grappling Almakhan. Almakhan's takedown defense is actually very, very good. And his get-ups are very good. He showed that even against Umar, he was able to get up multiple times. He's very explosive off the bottom, and he's very good at scrambling back up. He's got very good hips, and the takedown defense is very, very, very good. And how he ended up losing that fight wasn't that he got out-grappled and then submitted, because if you just look at the topology and you're like, oh, he got subbed by this guy, Ulu, he probably got out-grappled. He didn't really, honestly. What happened was he was stuffing all the takedowns. He was hurting him on the feet, but then he got hurt. Oops, sorry. Punched my microphone. Then he got hurt, and he kind of went for a shot, kind of just stuck his neck out, and the guy front choked him, and it was over. But he got hurt. That's what happened. So that one loss, you look at it first, and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. The guy's really good. But then you watch it, and it's really not that bad because he was doing pretty damn well. He just got hurt and then caught, but who is Brad Katona hurting? Absolutely nobody. What I see from Almakhan, really good wrestling. I rate his wrestling quite a bit. I think the takedowns are really nice. I think the takedown entries are very nice. I don't rate his control super highly. I don't think it's that good, but the ground and pound is good when he can keep them down there. And like I said, the defensive grappling is really good. And then his striking is solid. He's explosive. He's definitely explosive. He uses the range pretty well. He keeps the distance, so the defense is solid. But the output is a little bit low, and he's not really putting together like competent 15-minute striking performances. Like, he's not that guy. For the most part, he's wrestling. His striking is solid, but nothing incredible. On the other side with Katona, Katona's a good striker. The problem with him is he's got a 64-inch reach, so he doesn't have the option to trade at range. He can't fight you at kicking range. He just cannot. He doesn't have that ability because of his stature. So he has to fight guys closer. He's got to get in the pocket. He's got to get into boxing range. When he does, he's good. He is a good striker. He mixes it up to the body, which you guys know I love. He uses the jab well. I like that he mixes in step-in elbows in a lot of his fights when he's trading in the pocket. And, everybody talks about his bad striking defense, and that's a fact. It is bad. But I think part of the reason why is because he doesn't have a choice. He can't stay at range with these guys. He has to close the distance. He has to get up close. And in order to do that, he has to absorb some shots. So at range, Almakhan is better, yes. But I don't really see Almakhan as a guy who's using his lateral movement to stay far away from Brad and pick him apart. He's not really that kind of guy. So I think Katona is going to have a decent amount of striking success. And for when they are on the feet, I think that at range, Almakhan will land the nicer shots, and overall, he will land the bigger shots. If someone does get a knockout, it's probably him. He does have good power, and Katona has no power whatsoever. But if Katona can start backing him up and closing that range, get his back up against the fence, he's going to have success too. And, he's fought some guys who are much better strikers, in my opinion, than someone like Almakhan. I mean, Gene Matsumoto, right? You watch that fight. That was a good performance from Brad in a loss. Again, talking about overrating losses, right? But that was a good performance in a loss there. Matsumoto's a very good striker. He's a Muay Thai style guy on the feet. And Brad was training with him piece for piece on the feet. He also stuffed almost all the takedown attempts from Matsumoto. And Matsumoto's not a wrestler like Almakhan. He's not the same level. But overall, Katona's takedown defense, over all the years, you watch him back. Well, in his first UFC stint, it wasn't as good. But later on, his takedown defense has become very, very, very good. He's very good at stuffing takedowns. He's good at getting back up on his feet. Once he's on his back, he can struggle a little bit, but overall the get-ups are good. And if he has the fence, then he's very good at getting back up. So, and he's a good wrestler in his own right. And Almakhan has been taken down in the past. I said he does have very good takedown defense, but he can be taken down. And I'm not talking about Umar. When I'm making this breakdown, I'm pretty much completely ignoring the Umar fight, because there's almost nothing you can take from it for this one, other than Almakhan's got good get-ups if he can get up from under Umar. So the way I see it, it's like, I think Brad is a side at plus money. He's in my opinion, he's a better striker overall, as long as he can get into his range. He's a really good defensive grappler, and Almakhan's primarily a wrestler in my mind. And he's fought the much higher level of competition. But then I had that same problem of what I told you guys earlier, but his win condition to me kind of looks like a 29-28. For Almakhan, that's also kind of how it looks like. I think this is going to be a close fight, and that's why I'm leaning towards the dog, but I just can't get there yet because, with Katona, there's no power. There's no finishing upside. So I'm really just banking on a decision. And I don't want to do that at plus 140. And on the same side, I don't want to take the shot on Almakhan because it's a step up and maybe not a step up for him because he fought Umar, but it's another hard opponent, step up from his regional comp. And I do think that Brad can beat him. So I spent 2 hours breaking this down, taping this, writing notes. I spent about 15 minutes breaking it down to you guys, and I don't have much confidence. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit it out. I'm going to wait. I'm going to see if I can get Brad at a better price. If money comes in on Bezkat over the week, which I think it will, and I can get something like, I don't know, plus 180, plus 200 on Brad, then I'd be interested. Give me something like that, 30%, then I'm interested. Outside of that, I'm probably going to stay away. I think I'll fill in Brad by decision, but that could change by the end of the week because I don't have much confidence here, despite all the time I spent on it. Moving on, we've got, let me see first what's going on in the chat, because I see Ozzy's over here talking to me. We're going to get right this card, that's for sure. I hope, knock on wood. Bezkat KO or decision over 1.5. Let's see, KOs him. Interesting. Wants to represent his country. I mean, he's definitely going to fight for it, man. He is a good fighter. I don't want it to come off any other way. I think Almakhan is a good fighter. I just think that it's kind of crazy to price him this much of a favorite off of a loss to Umar against a guy who has beaten similar comp and who's a pretty damn good fighter in Katona. But anyways, moving on, we got Daniel Santos versus Jeong Lee. Santos 11-2-0. He's going to be 30 years old, 5'7" to 67-inch reach. And he is moving up to featherweight. That's important to note. Jeong Lee on the other side, 11-2-0, 29. He's 1 year younger. He's going to be 3 inches taller, and he's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage. So I do like Lee here. I think he's the side. With Santos, first of all, he's super inactive. He hasn't fought in almost 2 years. And even before that, you see a lot of inactivity from him. So that's the first problem with Santos for me. The second problem with Santos is that he's moving up because he's a guy who's fought at flyweight before. I believe he's had only one fight at featherweight, has been struggling with the weight cut. So he moved up in weight. Now he's at 145. He's a solid fighter. He got introduced to us on the UFC through his debut against Julio Arce. Short notice. He got outworked there. Just didn't have much for Arce. Arce able to stick on the outside, outstrike him. And then he beat Castaneda, and he beat, who was the other guy? Johnny Munoz, which doesn't mean much because Munoz spent almost the entire fight pulling guard. But overall, like Santos is a good fighter. You know, he's got good strike. He's classic shootbox. He's classic shootbox. Hands down, poor defense, extremely hittable. You can take him down and he'll be happy to play off of his back with his jiu-jitsu. But on the other side, he does have good striking. He does have good forward pressure. He's always in your face. He will mix in takedowns in his own right. He's got good offensive wrestling, and he's got solid jiu-jitsu and pretty good cardio to go with it, all of that. But on the Lee side, you have a guy who is coming off of road to UFC. Well, came off of road to UFC. He's been in UFC for quite some time now. He had his finals match against Yiza. I had Yiza there. I thought he won, but I also had a plus 200 ticket on him or something like that. But, you know, Yiza is first of all, a solid fighter. Second of all, a good wrestler. And third of all, a true 145er. And Yiza was able to take him down and control him. But Daniel Santos, I don't rate his wrestling as highly, and he's also smaller. He's a smaller guy. He's not a featherweight, not a natural featherweight anyway. So I don't think he's going to have that same success. And then Lee had those wins over, who was it? So it was Ijah. Then he beat Blake Builder by decision. That was when I saw, you know, he can go a competent 15 minutes and put together a competent performance. And then he got knocked out by Hyder Ammo early in the first, but we know what the deal is with Hyder at this point. That dude is just nonstop pressure, and your only real hope of beating him is to just knock him out. Or if you're a really good wrestler, I think maybe you could take out Hyder Ammo. I feel like you can just ground him and keep him there completely, maybe like an Evloev. But otherwise, he's a really hard dude to handle. And after his performance against Gomi, that loss for Lee is a little bit okay, you know. And while Ammo knocked him out, and Santos can also be very aggressive and similar style sometimes, I don't think that Santos has the same kind of power as Ammo. So for me, the way I see it, Lee's much bigger. Lee is going to be able to use that range on the feet. I think Lee has more KO upside at this weight class. And in general, I think Lee overall has more finishing upside. Lee's also very dangerous with the submissions. He's very opportunistic with the grappling. And he can offensively wrestle too, and his takedown defense is pretty solid. Like I said, he has been taken down. He has been out-grappled by someone like Ijah. But I don't think that Santos can replicate that to that extent. And even then, Ijah still lost, even if I think it was an incorrect decision. But I don't think Santos can grapple him for 15. I think Lee's too big, too explosive. His get-ups are too good. And on the feet, I just think Lee's going to hit harder. I think he's a cleaner striker. I think his movement is better. I don't think he's as hit. He's pretty hittable in his own right, but he's not as hittable as Santos. So for those reasons, at a close line, I think this is Lee or pass. He, like I said, just the bigger guy. The one I think is more likely for a finish is a little bit cleaner. And I just think overall is just a cleaner fighter than Santos. Santos is good at making fights dirty. Maybe he'll find some success doing that. But I think coming up to featherweight is going to be very hard for him. And I don't think this is a good start for him at featherweight. So I like Lee here to win, and we can move on. As he's saying, tricky fight. I think it will go the distance or 1.5 rounds. What are the odds on that? Let's see. Curious. Daniel Santos, Jeong Lee. So over 1.5, I only see on Bovada minus 200. I wouldn't do that just because like Santos is so hittable, and if Lee deaded him early, I wouldn't be shocked. Over 2.5 plus 110. I don't hate that. I feel like I also think this fight goes to decision, but I also think Lee could finish him, so I'd be a little careful. Lee for the win. Need more Asian fight. They definitely are trying to hit the Asian market. Lee has potential to be a top. What's up, Herb Dean? Lee has the potential to be a top 20 guy eventually, maybe. Yeah, probably. I think so. He's only 29, and he's pretty damn good. All right, moving on. We got a fight that I care very little about, and we'll spend very little time on. We got Marc-Andre Barriualt, who is versus Bruno Silva. Marc-Andre, he's 16-9-0. He's 35, 6'1" with the 74-inch reach. Bruno Silva, on the other hand, he's going to be 23-12-0. He's 35 as well. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, and he's going to have the same reach. So two guys who I think are washed beyond belief. Bruno Silva just does not seem like he wants to be there anymore. I bet him in his last fight against Ismail Nardiev, and that was one of the most pitiful performances I've ever seen. I ripped up my ticket. I bet online, but I ripped up my ticket mentally about 1 minute in. I was like, this guy's just not fighting. And then with Marc-Andre Barriualt, he's a guy who he still brings it, but he's on this losing streak here. He got knocked out by my guy Stoltzfus, which is not the best look, but it's okay. Stoltzfus got low-key power. Remember when he hurt, who was that guy that I bet it on him against? Punahele. He hurt him too. Got knocked out by Pyfer. That's fine. And then lost the split to Chris. I don't even think it was a deserved split, but regardless, hasn't been looking the best. Got knocked out twice in a row, even though, the Pyfer one is fine and the Stoltzfus one not as fine, but not a great look. But Silva's been on a terrible run too. The Weidman loss, even though there was a ton of fouls there, wasn't good. Magomedov is whatever. Shara. And Brendan Allen's also high level. But overall, with MAB, you just see a complete, he used to be so durable. But that's what happens. Eventually, when you're absorbing 100 significant strikes every single fight, no matter who you fight, your durability is going to go, especially at 35. It's going to go. And what? We're talking over 20 pro fights, almost 30 pro fights. No, we're talking about, almost 30 pro fights, 25 pro fights. It's a lot of damage he's absorbed over the years, a lot. And same with Bruno Silva. He's taking all that damage. The durability is still there, kind of. But he just doesn't seem to have it. He just doesn't seem to have it at all. So I don't really know who's going to win this fight. I don't really care all that much either. I just remembered I forgot to fill in. We've been doing our new thing. We'll go lead decision. But I really don't know. I lean towards Marc-Andre Barriualt just because from him, even though the chin has started to go and Bruno hits really hard, I still see the will to fight from him. And from Bruno Silva, I'm just seeing a guy who pulled up for his paycheck. If both of them were at their prime, it would still be a hard fight to predict because then if we're talking prime, then MAB's durable, brings a pace. Bruno Silva, really hard hitter, good striker. That's a way more compelling fight. Now we have a guy in MAB who will bring the pace but doesn't have the chin. And we have a guy in Bruno who still seems to hit pretty hard but doesn't have any oomph to him, any desire, any drive, any heart to him. So it's just really hard, and I'm not going to waste time on it because I genuinely don't know. I genuinely don't know. If you made me bet on it, I guess I would bet on the underdog just because he's the underdog, Bruno, and he does hit hard, and Marc-Andre Barrialt's chin has started to go. But I'm going to pick Marc-Andre just because with him, I know he's going to come and fight. Whether he gets knocked out or not, he's going to fight. He's going to bring the pace. He always brings high output. He's very hittable, but he's a good striker in his own right. I would really like if he wrestled a little bit. That would be cool, especially here because Bruno Silva is not a great defensive wrestler. If MAB wrestled, that would be great. But I was looking at his numbers. I don't think he's gotten a takedown since 2019. So I'm not going to start depending on him to wrestle now. So long story short, guys, I don't have a good read here. I don't have a strong pick. I'll pick Marc-Andre Barriault based off of the fact that I think he cares more. I think he brings a higher pace. And if that chin holds up, I just think he's going to do more. He's going to land more, and he's going to be constantly backing up Bruno Silva and just landing on him. So I do think he's the side, but I don't think I can get to a bet on him because of the chin. But if the line flipped, then I could be down, but I don't know that it's going to. I doubt it. So I'm just going to stay away, and I think that's the best move. Drone Rookie in the chat. What's up, Drone? I think this is the first time I'm seeing you live. Always look forward to your breakdowns. Always appreciate them. I appreciate that very much, man. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so next up, we got Navajo Sterling versus Ivan Ersland. Sterling, 6-0 undefeated. He's 27 years old, 6'4" with a 79-inch reach. On the other side, Ersland, he's going to be 14-4-0, 33, so he's 6 years older. He's going to be 2 inches shorter, and he's given up 7 inches in reach. So if you've been watching me, I'm pretty high on Sterling. I do like Sterling. Now, I will preface this. This is one of the fights that I have not fully taped. I need to tape it more. I need to look into it a little bit more before I make a full decision. But as of now, I like Sterling. I don't think I can get to the price because Ivan Ersland's a dangerous man. He's a good fighter. He's got more experience. He's fought good competition in KSW on the regional scene. He's done a good job there. He has power. He's a good boxer. He's a good striker. And the one thing that I have in my head and why I want to go back and tape this more is I need to go see if he's really wrestling often because I know that he wrestled against Cutelaba. I know that he got one takedown and he got some control time there. And we just saw Sterling get taken down by Tokos. I think it was 3 times in that fight that went to decision. So before I do anything with Sterling, I need to go and look because on the feet, I think he's the better striker. I think he's much faster, and I think his output is much higher. Ersland is a guy who just doesn't throw a ton of volume. He's looking to counter very often. He's a good striker. I like the jab. I like the counters. And like I said, he does have power, but overall, I think Sterling is the sharper, slicker, faster striker who's going to throw more. His angles are really clean. He's just overall the better striker, in my opinion. What I need to really figure out is what is his takedown defense really look like? And is Arslan really that much of a takedown threat, or was that just a one-off with Cutelaba? So I need to tape this one fully before I can give a full opinion. But what I'm thinking is I'm thinking Sterling by decision might be a good look. It's over plus 200. I think it's plus 230 on Bet Online. I think it's plus 275 on Bet Rivers, if I'm not mistaken. And I do kind of like that because Sterling is a good he's a good striker, but I don't rate his finishing like upside all that highly. Like his power doesn't seem like insane to me. Just seems good, and he's a sniper. But Arslan's a durable guy. He's only been knocked out one time in those 18 fights, and that was against Rafael Heretic. If you guys don't know who that is, he's the current KSW champion, and he's an absolute beast. Heretic is a beast. Hits like a train. Just a really, really good fighter. One of the best fighters on the regional scene, in my opinion, despite that record not being the shiniest. He's not undefeated, but he is a menace, Heretic, and he's made me a lot of money if you guys bet KSW and whatnot. He's a really good fighter. So he knocked out Ivan Arslan. But that being your only knockout loss, that doesn't tell me you're chinny. That doesn't make me super concerned about your durability. And he took some big shots from Cutelaba, that much I know. So what I'm thinking is Sterling wins this fight by decision. He stays on the outside, similar to the Tokos fight, picks him apart, maybe gets taken down a few times, works his way back up. So that's what I want to target, and maybe like an over. Those are the things I'm thinking about. But once again, it's a fight that I need to tape a bit more. So I'll pick Sterling. I'm going to pick Sterling by decision. But as of now, no bet and no strong stance until I really tape this one in depth. Like, I spent 2 hours on the Katona fight. I'd like to spend at least an hour on this one. And I've only done it a little bit. So let me catch up with the chat. He's thinking Sterling KO or sub. Fair enough. Fair enough. Sub is an interesting angle. Drone saying he always watches the next day, can never catch it live. Well, I'm glad you got to catch it live today, but I feel you, man. I rarely catch people's streams live. I usually listen to them in the car on the way to work. Michael saying Heretic could knock out. That dude hits hard. He's really good. I wish we got to see him in the UFC. At this point, he's a little bit older. All right, next up, we've got two guys that I've always really liked, despite them not having the best performances. We have Modestas Bukauskas versus Aiemann Cutelaba. Modestas 17-6-0, 31 years old. He's 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. Cutelaba 19-10-1. He's 31 as well. He's going to be 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach disadvantage. So this one's really tricky for me because on one side, Modestas is very good, in my opinion. I always thought that he was very good. I even overrated him because when he made his debut, I said he would be a top 5 ranked guy, and that's never going to happen. But I still think he's good. He's very clean. He's a very clean, technical striker. Nice jab, works off of it well. Good 1-2s, good kicks. Overall, good striking. Solid defense, not amazing, but solid. Uses that range, tries to stay safe and still land his shots. And he can wrestle offensively. His takedown defense is pretty good in his own right. He can be taken down, but for the most part, his takedown defense is pretty good. I didn't love the performance against Prachniow. That was a little bit concerning. He did end up getting that round 3 finish, but up until that point, like, Prachniow was kind of working him on the feet, which I didn't love at all because I don't rate Prachniow at all. But overall, he's a good striker, good grappler, solid counter grappler. The problem with him is doesn't have a ton of knockout power. I know he knocked out Cerqueira, but at this point, that might not mean much with what we know about Cerqueira. And the other thing with him is he doesn't separate. He doesn't separate. Even in his wins, they're close. They're almost always close unless he finishes. Even when he finishes, sometimes they're close. You know, like when he went to because he went back to Cage Warriors for a little bit. But overall, he's a good, well-rounded fighter. He just doesn't separate. And then with Cutelaba, you have a guy who is nonstop aggression until he gasses out. Gassy, because he does gas out. But he wrestles well. He's got good wrestling, especially early. His control is decent, not the best, but he's got really good ground and pound. He hits really hard, and it's very dangerous. And now it turns out he's got some submission upside as well, as we got to cash out on against Ebo. So the thing is, so here's how I see it piece by piece, right? On the feet, Modestas by far the cleaner striker, by far, in my opinion. Cutelaba by far the much harder hitter. In the grappling, Cutelaba better offensive wrestling. But I could see Modestas getting takedowns later in the fight as well. And I don't think Cutelaba is going to have a super easy time taking down Modestas, whose takedown defense I rate pretty decently. I think it's pretty good. For me, this is Modestas. I think he wins by decision is what I'm thinking, just because overall I think he's the cleaner, better fighter. But Cutelaba is the one with the finishing upside, almost all of it, unless he completely gasses out and Modestas finishes late. So it's like at pick'em line, I feel like it's probably about accurate. Like if Modestas can survive, he'll probably win. If he can't, Cutelaba might get him out of there early. So I lean towards the Modestas side. I don't know that there's value at pick'em. I'm not really dying to play it. It's a fight that I'm going to wait and just see what's happening. I think Cutelaba is going to start off, I know he's going to start off really hot. I lean towards Modestas being able to handle it and pick up the pace and get it done late. Not necessarily finish him, but, just outscore him later in the fights. Because how many times have we seen Cutelaba start hot and then fall off a cliff, Dustin Jacoby, that ended up in a draw where he landed like 8 takedowns in the first round. The Felipe Lins fight, Felipe just kind of cooked him overall. That was a really bad bet by me. I bet Cutelaba there. Yeah, this is a tricky one for me because it's like either Cutelaba early or Modestas, and I don't really know. So I'm going to pick Modestas. I'm going to go by Modestas decision, but I'm not super confident. I think overall he's durable enough to take those early shots from Cutelaba, but it's one that I need to think about a little bit more. And you guys know I like to retape fights. This is on my list to retape. I have to look at it a little bit more. But as of now, we're going to go Bukauskas, and we're going to go Bukauskas decision. Michael saying Modestas is going to annoy the out of Eon early. Going to see angry. He's always angry, that guy. Yeah, it's possible that Cutelaba just gets him out of there early, like we saw with Chelsea Chandler. Definitely a possibility. But all right, moving on. We got Jessica Andrade versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. Andrade, she's going to be 26-13-0. She's 33 years old, 5'1" with a 62-inch reach. Jasmine, she's 13-3-0. She's going to be 36, so she's 3 years older, which is insane that she's the older one in this matchup. Just crazy. 5'7", she's 6 inches taller, and she's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage. I think it's Jasmine here. I think it's Jasmine all day. I know Andrade has kind of been looking better these days. She did lose to, we'll talk about her soon, but I think Silva's a real deal. And then she had that win over Marina. I had Andrade there. I wasn't happy with the bet. I didn't think she looked that good. The Dern fight was pretty good, but I mean, she knocked her out. And then like before that, Yang Jianan knocked her out. She got subbed by Suarez. It's just at the end of the day, look, on the feet, Jasmine still stinks. Unfortunately, I love Jasmine. She's made me a ton of money. I've also lost some money against her, but overall, I think she's really good. But her striking still sucks. So Andrade will be the better striker. She'll probably be able to close the range because even though Jasmine's got that 6-inch reach advantage, when have you ever seen Jasmine stick and move on the feet and use her reach advantage? Never. What it's probably going to look like is Jasmine towering over her, Andrade flying forward and throwing huge bombs, and Jasmine shooting takedowns. That's what it's going to look like. And then I think at the end of the day, Jasmine's just going to take her down. I think she's just going to take her down. I don't think Andrade is going to be able to stuff most of the takedowns. I think Andrade's takedown defense is underrated. I think a lot of people point at the Blanchfield fight and forget that she actually stuffed the majority of those Blanchfield takedowns. And if I'm not mistaken, she was on short notice there. And she's overall, she's usually doing a pretty damn good job at stuffing takedowns. But Jasmine is so big. Jasmine doesn't need to go single, double leg. Jasmine can just drag her down off the fence, and I think that's exactly what she's going to do. I think she's going to clinch her up and drag her down, and then when she gets on top, Jasmine's really improved her top game. She doesn't just lay there. She's throwing good ground and pound. She's got good submissions, and she's become a better finisher lately, similar to like Jillian Robertson. She's really picking up the finishing aspect of her game, and she's been finishing these fights recently. Mayra Bueno Silva, no, she didn't finish, but that was a dominant performance. Finished Lipsky, which I think is impressive. Then she beat Klein up a weight class on short notice, still a good win. And she finished Priscilla Cachoeira there by Darce. So I don't necessarily think she's going to finish Andrade. I know some people targeting the unders, targeting Jasmine KO, all those things. Makes sense to me. I see why, because Jasmine's probably going to spend a lot of time on top. Andrade hasn't really been herself like as good as she used to be. Definitely on a decline. So I can see the thought behind the finish, but I feel like Andrade is still durable. I feel like Andrade is still hard to submit. And I don't really think Jasmine's going to finish her, but I think Jasmine is going to win. I think she's probably going to win pretty dominantly. And this is a step up for her. But at the end of the day, I think it's a step up that she's ready for. And at 36 years old, if she's going to make a run for that title, it's now or never. And I think she's going to go for it. And I think she's going to get the win here. So I think Jasmine gets it done. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I did think about playing the money line when it was minus 260 earlier today. But now that I'm looking at it, it's now minus 300. And I can't do it. I can't. Maybe as a parlay piece, maybe. But I just don't love that price because if Andrade does keep it on the feet, Jasmine's probably screwed. She's probably, it's 40 minutes in. I can curse. She's probably fucked. Jasmine's probably fucked if Andrade decides to strike with her. And I mean, not if decides. If she's able to keep it on the feet and strike with her, I think Jasmine's in trouble. So that's why at minus 300, I can't do it. But what I think probably happens is Jasmine takes her down, grinds her out, lands big ground and pound, doesn't get the finish, though, and wins a decision. That's what I think. Let's see what we got. As he's saying, Jessica Andrade, a dog. She will always fight for your money. That's for sure. Fight Capital Media. What's up, Fight Capital? I think this is the first time I'm seeing you guys in here. Barriualt fight is going to end in a knockout guaranteed. I could see it. What's the under? Fight ends is minus 200. They'll probably give you fight by KO like minus 150, minus 175. I don't like it enough to do it, but I get where you're coming from for sure. As he's saying, Jasmine sub or decision. I can feel it. Drone agreeing. Herb saying, I feel bad for Jasmine. She's a fighter at heart, but wants to throw down. Yeah, she needs to just wrestle. She just can't strike. And at 36, she's just not going to pick it up. So just grapple. Do what you're good at. And what's up, Glenbot? Good to see you in the chat, brother. All right. So we're going to go Jasmine. We're going to go Jasmine by decision. We're going to move on. We're still in the prelims. We got Mike Malott versus Charles Radtke. Malott, he's going to be 11-2-1. He's 33, 6'1" with a 73-inch reach. On the other side, we got Radtke, 10-4-0. He's 34. He's 1 year older. He's going to be, let me do some math. 2 inch, 3. He's going to be 4 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 1 inch reach disadvantage. This is the one other fight that I really need to tape. I haven't gotten to really go into this one. And because of that, I'm not going to waste time, guys. Please make sure to check out my shorts. That's where you're going to get a more final kind of decision on this one. And if you're in the Discord premium member, then obviously you'll get my pick, my breakdown, my notes, and a bet if I make it. I don't really know what to make of this fight pre-tape. I like I said, I haven't gotten to really tape this one. I've always liked Radtke. I've always bet on him. I've made good money on him. I think I did bet Semmelsberger against him, though, which was a terrible play. Radtke is a guy who he's a good striker. He's mostly a boxer, not really throwing a ton of kicks, good power. Output's not the best, but he can wrestle too offensively. Defensively, takedown defense is fine. But with Malott, Malott, I think he's getting a little bit unnecessary hate. Like, was he overrated? Yes. And I backed Magny against him. I backed him there, thinking about the cardio, and that ended up paying off. Just completely fell apart at the first sign of adversity. And then against Trevin Giles, he looked pretty good. Didn't have much adversity, so there's that. But he's a guy who's very well rounded. Malott can strike. He's a slick striker. He's got good power. He's pretty fast on the feet. Output's not the best, but he's good. And he can grapple too. He's got good wrestling, good submission grappling, pretty good jiu-jitsu, I would say. I'd say he's the better jiu-jitsu guy out of the two of them. Who's the better offensive wrestler? I need to tape, and then I can tell you guys right now I can't. Who's better on the feet? I think Malott is slicker at range. I think Radtke will probably have the better boxing up close. So it's a fight I need to really look into more. It's a fight I need to tape fully. As of now, we're just going to go Malott. We're not going to fill this out. No. Okay. We're just not going to fill this out because pre-tape, I just don't know. If you made me place a bet right now without taping, I would do Radtke because I think he has more dog in him, and Malott showed that quit in the Neo Magny fight. But I need to tape this to really give you guys a real opinion because otherwise I'm just making shit up, and I don't want to do that. So we're going to move on. Let's see what we got. Michael saying Radtke by murder. What the F is this line? A lot of money has been coming on Radtke. Plus 167 now. Wish I taped it in time for the plus 205, but it is what it is. Radtke ITD. Late round 2-3 sub would be interesting. Okay. Things I got to look at. I miss Goldie. What's up? I miss Goldie. I don't think I've ever seen you in here before. Don't fall for the Fioros and also take down. You're gonna look stupid. You know, you read my mind, and I'm going to talk about it when we get there. But that's exactly the thing I wanted to talk about. As he's saying, Radtke pressure is going to win him the fight. That could make some sense to me. Glenbot saying you're round 3. To be fair, I wasn't the only one. But that did feel really good. And you guys know, Glenbot's been watching me for a while, I'm pretty sure. And anybody who's been watching me for a long time knows, even when I first started this thing, I always loved round 3 props. Why? Because the odds are better. As my guy Lou Betcha would say. I hope he's doing good. I gotta reach out to my guy. But the odds are just better. That's why. But yeah, that did feel good when that cashed. I also had the round 3 sub prop on Magny, and I had friends over, and I told them all, I was like, guys, if you're gonna tail me on anything, tail me on Magny round 3 and tail me on Magny round 3 sub. And they did. And we were going crazy. We were going bananas. That felt so good. I'm telling you, man. That's why. That's the reason. But all right. Moving on. Oh, it's the main event. Not the main event. It's the main card. And what did I say we're going to do for the main card? I said we're going to do one more shot. And that's exactly what we're going to do. But while I do that, I'm going to need you guys to do me a favor. The favor I need from you is I need you to like the video. I need you to like it on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, I need you to leave a comment because that would be very helpful. Subscribe if you're not for some reason. And if you're on Twitter, pick it up, guys. Pick it up. You guys never do anything. Recently, it's been getting better because I've been pushing back. But right now, we have 56 people on Twitter. We got 18 on YouTube. I would bet money that we have triple the amount of likes on YouTube than we do on Twitter because we never get any on Twitter. So please, if you're watching on Twitter, like, subscribe, like, retweet, follow. If you're not following for some reason, do something. Help me out. If you like the content, help me out. If you don't like me, leave a comment and tell me because that helps too. But all right, let's do our shot and let's move on. Okay. Yeah, listen to this guy. Listen to Quemba. It's free. Cheers, guys. Happy Tuesday. Happy UFC 315 week. Let's get it. Really need that shot, considering the fight we're about to break down. Give me one moment. All right, let's rock. So, next up, we've got Benoit Saint-Denis versus Kyle Prepolec. Benoit Saint-Denis, 13-3-0, 29 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. Kyle, 18-8-0, 35. So he's going to be 6 years older. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, and he's going to be at a 3-inch reach disadvantage. I will not lie to you guys ever. I have not taped this fight because it just got put together. I did tape Yoel Alvarez versus Benoit Saint-Denis, and I was going to bet BSD, and I didn't get the chance. So that fell through. So I have not been able to tape this fight. I do not remember Kyle. He was in the UFC. He lost 2 times. He lost to Hubbard and Taleb. And I do know that he was supposed to fight Michael Dufort on the Canadian regional scene this weekend. And it's kind of weird because, like, why would you, out of the 2 of them, it's so easy. Like, who do you sign? You sign Dufort because he's actually pretty good. And does he beat BSD? No, but he could probably compete better than Kyle can, I think, off the little I remember from Kyle. But again, I don't remember much. I remember him being a serviceable fighter. I kind of remember that Hubbard fight, probably from when I was taping Hubbard. But I just don't know enough to say anything, so I'm not going to give you guys like a half-ass breakdown. We know BSD. We know Benoit Saint-Denis well. Extremely aggressive guy, absolute tank, good wrestling, good grappling, good jiu-jitsu. decent striking. I never really rated him too highly as a striker, but he does have a lot of power. And he's extremely aggressive. So here, you know, like I said, I need to go tape it. I need to see, can Kyle stuff a takedown? I don't know. Looking at UFC stats, looks like he's been taken down 3 times by Hubbard, but Hubbard's good. So maybe he can stuff takedowns. If he does, can he strike with Benoit Saint-Denis? These are all things I need to go look at. I just don't know off the top of my head, but kind of crazy that BST declined the Gamrot fight and said, I'll fight this dude Kyle, though. Let's catch up with the chat and then we'll move on. Because like I said, I need to tape this, but why would I run to tape it? You know, like, what are we going to bet? Like, the line is minus 1,200 Benoit Saint-Denis. I'm not going to do that. Kyle plus 750. Over 1.5 plus 165. Is it true? Did they really change the line to over 0.5? Because if that's true, that's insane. I saw it on Twitter. I want to confirm it myself, so I'm going to pull it up right now. No, not anymore. At least maybe it was before. Now it's the 1.5. That makes more sense. But yeah, we'll move on. Let's not waste time. Catching up with the chat before we move on, though. I miss Goldie saying BSD round 2 KO. Simple. Okay, well, why? Tell me why. Not because I'm arguing, just because I didn't get to tape yet, so I don't know. So let me know why. My guy Glenn bought. What's the tequila? It's actually a new brand. It's oh, there's the name. My brother put me onto it. Casa de Hamsa. Some new thing, but it's honestly pretty damn good. I'm a tequila guy. I drink almost purely tequila when I do drink, and it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I don't drink. I never Habib. Thank God I'm not Habib. All right. Rent free. Does bro read chat? I always read the chat. I love talking to the chat, but not when I'm mid breakdown because I talk a lot and I get distracted. I can't read the chat while I'm talking. Then I'm going to get distracted and you guys comment funny stuff sometimes. And then I lose my train of thought. So I read it after each breakdown. But thank you for being here, Rent Free. I miss Goldie having my back there. Should US MMA adopt Sambo? What do you mean by adopt? Let me know. I used to do Sambo back in the day. When I was a kid, like when I was a little kid, I did karate at Tiger Showman's. If you guys know Robert Vericchio, he's a really good fighter who's on the come up. You should check him out. I interviewed him once too, and you can check out the interview on my channel. Really cool guy. But me and him were talking, and it turned out we actually trained at the same karate gym when we were kids. We're about the same age too. But then later in my life, I did Sambo and Judo. So let me know what that question is. Goldie saying Grasso by split decision, best boxer in the division. Natalia backs herself against the octagon every fight. Grasso will pressure her and outdog her. Okay, well, we're going to talk about it now. We got Alexa Grasso versus Natalia Silva. Grasso 16-4-1. She's 31 years old, 5'5" with a 66-inch reach. Silva on the other side, 18-5-1. She's 28. So she's going to be 3 years younger. She's going to be 1 inch shorter, and she's going to be at a 1 inch reach disadvantage. I think Silva's the truth. I think Silva is the absolute truth. I think that she is the uncrowned champion. I think regardless of who wins tonight, this weekend, whether it's Shevchenko or Manon, I think they're going to be temporary. I think Silva is the one. She's her, and I think she's. I just think she's insanely good. I think she's insanely good. Is this a big step up? Yes. But the UFC's been building her up really, really well. They've been doing the stepping stones right. They started her off real low, even before the Bleda fight. But the Bleda fight, Teresa Bleda is good. She knocked her out, stuffed a lot of those takedowns. Victoria Leonardo, fine. Andrea Lee, that was the first kind of step up, established veteran. Arugio's a good win. And then Andrade is a good win. She wins that one dominantly. And I just think they've been building her up for this moment very, very well. I think the UFC has done a really good job, similar to what they did with Patty. I think they've done a great job. They don't always, but here in particular, I think they have with Silva. And is Alexa Grasso one of the best in the division? Absolutely. Do I think she lost almost all of the rounds to Shevchenko in their 3 fights? Yes, I do. But I still think she's really good. I think she's a really good boxer, opportunistic submissions, solid grappling. But me personally, I think Silva's better everywhere. I just do. And she's 28 years old. She's still not even in her 30s. She's still getting better. She's still improving. And you watch this woman strike. And I know Goldie was saying she backs up. But when she backs up, she's not just backing up straight in a line. She's always moving laterally. And the way she creates angles in her striking is so clean. The way she's just like angling, shot, back in the center. Or when when people are throwing strikes at her, the way she angles off and counters. Just the way she sets up her stuff on the feet is so clean. And while I do think Grasso's one of the best boxers in the division, I think Silva's a better striker. I do. I think she's better with the hands. I think she's better with the kicks. I just think she's better. I think she's ridiculously good. And I really, really rate her striking. I rate every aspect of her game. People forget that she came into the UFC as a grappler. When she fought Jasmine Jasudavicius, all the previous tape showed us that she was primarily a grappler. I had her there in that Jasmine fight, and I cannot pretend that I was some future seer. I just thought that, this girl was very young at the time. That we're talking what? The Jasmine fight was like 4 years ago? Yeah, 3 years ago. Whenever that was. I was like, she's going to be improving. She's young. She shows good things. And Jasmine was relatively, unproven. Then it was like her second or third UFC fight. And she was like minus 300. So I took, or no, she wasn't. It was a closer line, but she was a favorite. And I took the shot on Silva. I did not know just how good she was at that time. But since then, I think she's her. I think she's the one. I think she's on crown champ. I think she's going to beat Grasso. I think she's going to beat her by decision. I think it'll be close but clear win for Silva. She's going to get the title shot, and then I think she's going to win that title. That's my own personal opinion. Can I blame anyone for taking a Grasso shot? Absolutely not. Grasso, a decent amount of time now, one of the best in the division, was the champion, beat Shevchenko once, should have lost twice. I don't think she deserved that draw, but it is what it is. She still competed. She did a good job. And she's a really high-level fighter, so I can't blame anyone for taking her here at plus 200 when Natalia's taking a big step up from Andrade to Grasso. But I just think Silva's going to get it done. I think she's the truth. Maybe call it an aura thing, but I just think she's the one, and I think she's going to get it done here. I think she's going to outstrike Grasso. I think she can take her down if she wanted to. I think she's better everywhere. I really do. Maybe pure jiu-jitsu, but even then, I would argue that back and forth. So for me, I like Silva here. I like her quite a bit, and I'm really excited to see her fight. She's probably my favorite women's fighter now. It used to be Rose. I used to be a huge Rose fan until the Esparza fight. That's when she lost me. I remember I was with my fiance, and she knew I'm a Rose fan, and that was the Esparza Rose fight, and I was like, come watch this with me. And we're watching it, and she's like, is it always like this? And I was like, no, it's not. It's not always like this. I swear she's usually good. But yeah, that's kind of where she wasn't my favorite fighter anymore. And I think now my favorite women's fighter is Natalia Silva. But let's catch up with the chat. Michael saying Varicio's a beast. They better put him on the Contender Series. They better either that or put him on a short notice thing. He's so good. And he's one of those guys who's just fun. And you talk to him, he wants to be champ, but he also wants to be that guy. He wants to be the guy who, like, watch my interview with him on my channel. He wants to be the dude who comes, puts on fun fights, and he's really exciting. Against Alex Martinez, he was a plus 200 underdog. Martinez, a guy who competed in PFL and competed well against good guys, and Varicio shut him out. And that was a really good performance. So if you guys don't know who Varicio is, check him out. The dude is awesome. Shevchenko's just the best. There's nothing wrong with getting 50-45 against the champ, Natalia. She doesn't shoot takedowns these days. Watch her regional stuff, though. She does grapple. And I would not go as far as to say that she has no ground game. I think that's pretty incorrect. Well, Silva and Fiorot have great takedown tests against anyone. We're going to talk about that when we get to Shevchenko. Yes, we will. But when is Grasso taking people down at high clips? Like, let's not pretend Grasso is Khabib Nurmagomedov here. She's what? She's getting a few takedowns here and there. Like, she's not like a prolific grappler offensively. Silva's going to be too fast. Won't give Grasso a chance to strike as much. I don't think she can hold her down. I think if Grasso wins, I think she keeps it on the feet, and it's just a really close fight on the feet. Judges can't tell, and they go with Grasso. I think that's how she wins personally. Rent free. If USA, so he's talking about earlier. He said should what do you say? Where'd he go? Why am I not seeing your earlier comments, Brent? Oh, yeah, here it is. So he asked, should US MMA adopt Sambo? I asked him what he meant. He said, if USA MMA should implement Sambo like wrestling, it's clear that... I don't know what you mean by implement. Like, what do you mean? Like, do you just mean like US fighters should start having a Sambo base before they go into MMA? Because if that's what you're saying, I would agree with you. I think Sambo is probably one of the best bases for MMA if you do combat Sambo, because there you have grappling, but you also have striking, and just Sambo guys are very physically strong. Like, you got to be very physically strong, and I do think it's I personally think it's one of the best bases, if not the best, for MMA. I think wrestling is close as well. But if that's what you mean, he's saying yes, then yeah, I agree with you. Like, if I was a coach, like a new coach, I would try. I think my angle would be try to teach these guys Sambo and put them into MMA and see how it goes. I definitely think that it's if you just mean like more camps should start focusing on it, yeah, I agree with you for sure. I think it's a really, really good skill set and a good base for mixed martial arts. As he's saying, Valentina to win greatest woman of all time. She's going to be very clever, easy W. We'll talk about it soon. But I think even right now, before whether she wins or loses, I have her as the greatest woman of all time over Nunes personally. RDR uses elite Dutch Sambo. As he's really confident on Valentina. I miss Goldie saying, if Shevchenko was to clearly beat Fierro in the scorecards, how would you see a fight with her and Wei Li going? Well, that's where things are going to get complicated, right? Because if Silva comes out here and beats Grasso, she's your number one contender. Clear. But then you have Wei Li, who cleared out her division, and there's no one really left for her, and she wants to go up. So who do you give her next? I think Dana's going to get. I think Dana will give Wei Li Shevchenko first, personally. But how would I see the fight going? I think Shevchenko would be too big. That's what I think. While I think Wei Li, pound for pound, might be the best woman alive. Pound for pound, you know, that's a nice title and all, but actually moving up in weight and fighting someone like Valentina, I'm not sure. At this point, Valentina's getting kind of old. She's getting on the older side of things. So if they do fight, it should be soon, but it'll be a really compelling matchup. I would have to tape it extensively and to really give you a real opinion. Gun to my head, Shevchenko probably too big for Wei Li, but Wei Li's been different lately. She's so good. So, yeah. All right. As he's saying, if Valentina wins, I think she has a chance at who? Valentina? Like going up to bantamweight? Her versus Harrison could be a super fight that no one's talking about. Now that you say that, I don't think she's gonna retire. Valentina's the type, she wants to keep going. She's trying to get those rubies, or the rubies. Yeah, you know how every time the champ defends the belt, they replace one of the stones with the rubies. I think she's been trying to get all of them. So I don't think she'll retire till she does, but she should probably retire soon because she's so good. But Father Time is undefeated, right? All right, moving on. We've got really good fight. We got Jose Aldo versus Aiemann Zahabi. Aldo, 32, 9-0, 38 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. Zahabi, 12-2-0. He's 37, so he's 1 year younger. He's going to be 1 inch taller, and he's going to be at a 1.5 inch reach disadvantage. So for me, it's dog or pass here. I love Aldo. I love him very, very much. And I love betting on him. I bet against him. I bet on him against Batista. I bet on him against Martinez. I bet on him all the time. But I wouldn't bet him here at minus 200 personally. I think it's dog or pass if you're going to do it. In terms of a straight pick, I'll pick Aldo because I don't think Zahabi has the skill set of Batista to cage push Aldo for 15 minutes. And I just think that Aldo is still at this age, still faster and might hit a little bit harder. So for those, and he's just competed at a much higher level, and it's not even debatable, even close. So for those reasons, I think Aldo's the rightful favorite, and because of that, he'll be my straight pick. But this is a gambling show, a betting show, and you guys know me. I bet numbers very, very often. I bet against my own picks all the time, every single week, pretty much. And, you know, this might be one of those spots. I just think this is dog or pass because the way I see it, I see this playing out close. I don't see either guy blowing out the other. Neither guy has real wrestling upside. Neither guy has real control cage pushing upside. I think this is going to be on the feet. I think it's going to be at range. And while Aldo is the cleaner guy, the guy who hits harder, I love the dude's body work. I don't necessarily think he separates super hard these days. I don't really think he's knocking people out these days. I don't think the power is quite there. He's still fast, but not as fast as he used to be. And he's just not separating all that much. I didn't see much urgency to get his back off the fence in the Batista fight. And while, yeah, like I just said, Zahabi doesn't really have that skill set to hold him up against the fence. That lack of urgency, that lack of ability, just, you know, win those minutes, get off the fence. Like, that was frustrating, and I don't love that. And with Zahabi, he's a guy who I have always underrated. I've never bet on the guy in my life. I've always bet against him. I bet Ricky Tercios against him, for God's sake. I bet Pedro Munoz against him. I've been wrong on him all the time, and I've had to adjust. I've had to start to respect him because he's a guy who I just thought was a nothing burger in the past. And, you know, he doesn't have a lot of wrestling upside. He doesn't, but he is a good striker. He's a good technical striker. He's a good game planner. Comes from a good camp. His brother's the coach. And I will say he's got underrated power. He was jabbing Pedro Munoz. That jab did a lot of damage on Munoz. And while he's not knocking people out, he's causing damage. He's a good striker. And while I don't think he's as clean as Aldo, I don't think he's as fast as Aldo. Excuse me. Aldo's almost 39. And I know Zahabi's 37. The age difference isn't that big on paper. But you also have to consider the amount of fights, right? Jose Aldo's got over 40 fights. He's got 41 fights. He's been fighting forever. And he's taken so much damage. He's absorbed so much damage. Zahabi, while he's the same age, he hasn't been as active. And on one side, you could say that's a bad thing. But in recent years, he's been active. And it's good on the side that in the way that he hasn't absorbed all that damage. He hasn't taken all those big shots. Like, he hasn't even fought really super hard hitters that are like really breaking that chin. So I think that he's just going to be the more durable out of the two of them. Not that I think he's going to knock out Aldo. Don't get me wrong there. I just think he's going to be a little bit fresher out of the two of them. He's the one who hasn't taken all that damage, doesn't have all those fight years. And because I think this plays out on the feet, because I think this is close, because I don't think Aldo's really pacing or outputting anybody, I think it's dog or pass from a betting perspective. For me personally, whether I bet this fight or not, you can only find that out if you are on the Dub Club. Link in the description of the video. As I said earlier, you can get the promo code right here. Couch Warrior Pod will get you 20% off on your first month. And make sure to come check it out. And if I do bet on this fight, if I have bet on this fight, or if you just want my notes, my breakdowns, that's all there. I have a pretty extensive breakdown on this one. But for me personally, it's dog or pass. Have I been filling it out? I haven't. My bad, guys. I've been trying. This is a new thing we're trying here. This fight I didn't even tape yet, so we'll just be square. This one I didn't tape, and I don't want to fill in yet. Okay. For this one, we're gonna go Aldo decision. But again, I want to make this very clear. Dog or pass. I'm not betting on Aldo. I'm not. Not at minus 200. There's no way. So dog or pass for me on this fight. I think it's going to be a close competitive fight. And it is worth mentioning Zahabi is fighting at home in Canada. I am not a guy who really believes in hometown cooking, but I think there's something you can put into the whole, they're in their home crowd, and, sometimes home cooking is kind of real. There are some situations where I've been like, that might have been it. Normally, I don't really believe in it, but it's just something to consider, a data point to look at, not to base your whole pick off of, but yeah. All right, we're up to our co-main event of the evening. Before I do, let's catch up in the chat. Let's see. Ozzy's saying, is Zahabi in the same camp as Muhammad, or is it his brother? Well, Zahabi's brother is the coach of is his coach. Belal's at VFS, Valley Flow Striking, so I don't think they're in the same camp. Goldie making the Hawani joke. Aldo only loses if he gets. Look, Batista's better than Zahabi, yeah, but I wouldn't say that Aldo will only lose if he gets held up against the cage. Yes, that's been the case lately, but at this stage of his career, I think he can be outstruck over a 15-minute decision, personally. I do. All right, we got our co-main event of the evening. If you guys have not yet, please like, subscribe, comment. If you're on Twitter, like, retweet. It all really helps. And I'm going on YouTube right now, and I want to see how many likes we have. I know that we're going head-to-head with freaking Clint and the Beat the Line broadcast guys. So honestly, thank you guys for being here with me. That's much appreciated. Let's see, how many likes are we at? We are at 14 likes. That's some BS. Come on. Let's get that number up. Let's get those likes up. Get your friends on here. You got a friend who likes MMA, but they're not doing nothing right now? Tell them to go watch Couch. Tell them to check them out. I'm about to break down Valentina versus Manon. Let's do it. So we got Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon Fiorot. Valentina 24, 4-1. She's 37 years old. 5'5" with a 65.5-inch reach. On the other side, Manon, she's going to be 12-1-0. She's 35, so she's 2 years younger. She's 2 inches taller, and she's going to be at a half-inch reach advantage. Let's call it even. Let's call it the same reach. All right, so I've always been super high on Manon. You can go to my videos. They're probably still there. I mean, they are still there. Of when Manon made her UFC debut, I think it was Tabitha Ricci. I've always said this woman is championship caliber. She's elite. And I've probably said that she would beat Valentina in the past. And I've always said that she's an uncrowned champion. She's someone that good to be champ. But then as this week came along and people started to ask me about it, and I started to tape it and look at it, and I'm just like, I don't have that same confidence I used to have before about her beating Valentina. Am I still confident that she's one of the best in the world, one of the best women fighters in the world, and possibly one of the best fighters, period, in the world? Yeah, she's really good. But she's pretty one-dimensional, and there's a few things I want to talk about. So first thing I want to talk about is everybody talks about Valentina's age here. She's 37 years old. She's 37. Yeah. But Manon's 35. She's not that much younger. She's 2 years younger. And then you could be like, but Mike, we just had that same situation with Zahabi and Aldo, and you said Aldo's taking way more damage, has way more fight years. Yes. But watch Valentina's fights. Where's Valentina really absorbing damage? Not many. Not many of those fights. So yes, while she's had way more fights than Manon, over double, I don't consider her the same as Aldo because Aldo's had wars. Valentina's had wars, but she hasn't been hit that hard all that much. Most of her performances, I would say like 80% of her performances have just been one-way traffic dominance, right? So it's not exactly the same as the last fight, So if you're like, oh, Mike, but you said the same thing about Aldo, that's why. That's why I have a little bit of a difference there. So while they're the same age here, I mean, not the same. While Manon's a little bit younger but has way less fights, I still think that in terms of durability, damage, wear and tear, Valentina doesn't have as much as somebody say as Aldo with a similar amount of fights. All right. So put the age thing there. I don't think it's that significant. Her being 37, She's not as fast as she used to be. She's not as explosive as she used to be. But Manon's not much younger, and she's not getting any younger. We only get older, right? That's the way humans work. Next thing I want to talk about, and I forget, I'm sorry, I think it was Ozzy, it might have been Goldie. You two have both been talking to me about these fights, so excuse me if I'm wrong. Somebody mentioned earlier about the people assuming that because Blanchfield took Manon down, couldn't take Manon down, Shevchenko won't. And they hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I've been saying all week. That's exactly what I've been saying since before I taped this fight, but people asked me about it last week, and then after I taped it. Here's the big difference, right? So against Blanchfield is really good. She's young. She's got a great ceiling. She's a really good wrestler. She's a really good grappler. I actually wouldn't call her a really good wrestler. She's a good wrestler. She's a really good jiu-jitsu practitioner. She mixes it up well. She's a good grappler. But she has no hands. She has no striking at all. She has nothing to set up those takedowns with. And if you watch me in the past, you know that I've talked about this many, many times. Say you have a fighter, right? Fighter A. And they are whatever. They're an average fighter. And they're fighting fighter B. Fighter B is a really good wrestler, but a terrible striker. It's going to be easier to defend fighter B's takedowns than, for example, fighter C, who's not as good of a wrestler as fighter B, but has better striking to set the takedowns up. They might have more success. Why? Not because they're a better wrestler, they're not, but because they can set it up. If you're just a wrestler, right, like Blanchfield, now she's improving, she's upping her game, she beat Rose, that was good. But at the time she fought Manon, she was a pure grappler with very, very minimal striking. If you don't have the striking to set up your takedowns, right, if you don't have the striking to just put out there, put that threat out there, your opponent knows that what are you going to do? You are going to shoot for takedowns. That's what you're going to do. So all your opponent has to worry about is stuffing the takedowns. They don't have to worry about your shots. They don't fear your KO power. They don't fear your accuracy. They don't fear your counters. They're not worried about what you're going to do on the feet. So they're just going to keep their hands low, and they're going to stuff your takedowns. And that's what Manon did against Blanchfield. Blanchfield had nothing for her on the feet, so she could just stuff the takedowns because she saw them coming, and then just outstrike her because Manon is a sick striker. She's an amazing striker. She's fast, powerful, great counters, clean combinations, good output. She's a really good striker. But with Blanchfield, she didn't have to worry about the striking, so she only had to worry about the grappling. Because of that, she was able to stuff it, and she was okay. The big difference here is Shevchenko can do both. And she's equal, in my opinion, she's equally good at both. With the striking, maybe not as good these days because she's slower, because she has age. She's 37 years old. She's been fighting for a really long time. So she's not as fast, maybe not as explosive, not as powerful. But if we're talking skills, technique, she's still a really good striker. Much better striker than Blanchfield. If we're talking kickboxing, she'd be minus 3,000 against Blanchfield. She'd be 95%, 98% against, maybe even higher against Blanchfield in a striking match. But she's also a really good wrestler. She has really nice takedowns, good timing, and good control. She does good work with it, good ground and pound. She can threaten submissions, not really her thing. Excuse me, but she can. So that's my thing. That's my thing here. On the feet, if we're just talking striking, Manon's better, Manon's faster, Manon's cleaner, and might even hit harder at this stage of their careers. That I will say. And her movement's really good. She's always moving laterally. But the difference here between Shevchenko and Blanchfield is that Shevchenko can mix it all up. Manon won't know what to worry about more. She can't just keep her hands low, because if she keeps her hands low, if she's always ready for the takedown, she's not going to be ready for what comes upstairs. She's not going to be ready for when Valentina goes upstairs and throws some strikes her way, throws some hands, throws some kicks. She won't be ready if her hands are down. So she can't do that. She has to keep them normal. She has to use her usual defense. She has to worry about both the striking and the takedown. And that's why I think Valentina will have success, because she can mix it up. Even at this stage of her career, even at this age, she has shown an ability to mix it up. She can do both. And she still hits hard, you know? Like, it's not like, let's pretend like her striking's just gone. Let's not pretend like she's not a woman who used to just put people out and just clean up shop against some of these women. She's a really good striker in her own right, Shevchenko. She's got a lot of power, and she has the wrestling upside. So the way I see it with this fight is you're making Manon the favorite when she's the challenger. She's one-dimensional because she doesn't have grappling, right? There's zero chance Manon is the one getting wrestling success in this fight. So if you're laying the chalk on Manon, you are completely putting your faith in her stuffing all the wrestling and just being able to cleanly outstrike Valentina over 25 minutes. Think about it. That's what you're doing, right? And if you think 100% she will stuff those takedowns, okay, that might still be a good bet then. But for me personally, minus 140 on Manon is ridiculous because she's one-dimensional. She's a really good striker, but that's it. And if that's not working, if Shevchenko is getting those takedowns, she's in trouble. She's in trouble. We still don't really have tape of Manon off her back. We have tape of her takedown defense. It's very good when she doesn't have to worry about the striking. But then there's two questions left, right? What's the takedown defense look like when there is striking? And what she look like off her back? Because we don't really know. Blanchfield took her down, what? I think one time? Not even one time. 0 times. Manon got the takedown. Blanchfield went 0-3. She couldn't even set them up, so she was barely even shooting. So that's another thing, right? She only shot 3 times. But overall, I want to bet Manon. I've always been high on her. I've been shouting her name from the rooftops. I bet her against Rose. I took the plus 3.5 spread, minus 3.5 spread. Pretty sure I parlayed her against Chookagian. In the Blanchfield fight, I wasn't certain, but I played the fight goes. Pretty sure I parlayed her against Maya. I've been playing her this entire time. I've been betting on her. I've been backing her. But I just think here, if I was getting her at like plus 125, then I'd be interested. Because she hasn't had as many fights. You can argue that she's not as worn and torn as Shevchenko. And she is a really good striker, and she's faster at plus money. But her as the favorite to me doesn't make sense because of everything I've said. Because if you're going to make someone a favorite, like, again, someone like Shevchenko, they have to be able to do both, in my opinion. And Manon's not an offensive wrestler. She's mixed it in here and there, but she's not an offensive wrestler. She's a defensive, she's good at defensive grappling, but she's a striker. She's an elite striker. But I just think Shevchenko is going to be able to mix it up enough on the feet that she can get the takedowns, still win minutes on the feet too, because she is still a good striker at the end of the day. And for those reasons, I have to go Shevchenko here. And it's definitely a dog or pass for me. If we're talking betting, that's what we talk about here. It's a dog or pass for me. I think Shevchenko's the side. I have not made a play yet. I don't know that I will. But trying out my new line movement skills, trying to get better at reading line movement. And personally, from the vibes I'm getting, from what I see, I think I don't see many people on Shevchenko. I see a lot of people on Manon. I think the casual money is going to be on Manon. And I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait. If I get a nice number on Valentina, I'll probably take the shot because, yes, she's 37. Yes, she's been around forever. She's not as good as she used to be. But I still think she has the skills to win this fight. So that's where I'm at. Before we move on, let's catch up, and then we'll go to the last fight of the night. Goldie saying Shevchenko's patient on the feet will win her this fight. If you actually watch Fioril's fight, she's very inaccurate, misses a lot. I think Fioril's very accurate too, but my bigger issue is what I mentioned, that I think that Shevchenko can just mix it up to the point where this is a very winnable fight for her. Goldie saying, oh, and watch Fioril versus Chookagian. She had a back and forth with her, no joke. Shevchenko dominated Chookagian, barely got touched. The Fioril Chookagian fight, that was 3 years ago? 2 years ago? 2 years ago. No, 3. 2.5. I know what you mean, I guess. Barely used her one. That's a fair point, too. As he's saying, €5 wins 1,500 full card picks. Bezkat, Lee, Sterling KO or decision. Okay. Modestas, Jasmine, Silva decision. Mike Malott, BSD, Silva, KO or decision. Zahabi. I like it. I disagree with a few of them, but I like it. Like for me personally, like I'm I'm not positive about Malott. I still have to tape that one. Jasmine, I think she's live for a KO, possibly. And then the Belal fight we're going to talk about in a second. Exactly, drink and know things. And you drink things and you know things, and so do I. I agree. If replace Aldo was a hobby, I think Aldo, that's fair. That's fair. He very well might. Very well might. All right, let's move on to the main event. Main event of the evening, we've got Belal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena. Belal, he's going to be 24-3-0. He's 36 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. JDM, he's 17-2-0. He's 28, so he's 8 years younger. He's going to be the same height, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. So if you're a premium member of the Discord of the Dub Club, then you've seen my breakdown. I went very into depth in this one. I spent a lot of time on this fight. For me, okay, if you watch me in the past, you know I love Belal. I bet on him all the time. I have my personal disagreements with him sometimes in terms of, liking the fighter. But in terms of liking him as a fighter, I've always loved him. I love him and Merab for the same reason. They're not the most physically gifted. They're not the most powerfully gifted, athletically gifted. They're not super gifted in anything. They're not the best striker naturally. They're not the best wrestler naturally. They're not elite at anything when they start. But they work harder than anyone else in the room. They work harder than anyone else in the world. They work hard to the point where they become champion because they just won't stop. And no matter what it takes, they'll work on it. They figure it out and they get it done. And that's why I love guys like Belal. I love guys like Merab. Not super physically gifted, but still the best in the world. So I've always loved Belal. Always been a fan. I've faded him in the past, but for the most part, I've backed him many times, usually as the underdog. Always as the underdog. He's a great underdog. Against Leon, I went 2 units at plus 200 something. I thought he was the side. I felt like because of the grappling and because Leon's kind of like meh half the time when he's fighting. So Belal's a guy who I've always been really high on. And Jack Della's not really someone that I've been super high on. I've tried to fade him many times. I think I bet Holland against him. I think I passed on the Burns fight, but I picked Burns. I don't think I did anything with Hafez. I probably bet Brown. I don't remember, but knowing myself, I probably bet Brown. So my point is that with Belal, we have a guy who I've always liked. I've always trusted with my money at plus money. And Jack was usually a favorite and who I have not really trusted at all. So going into this fight, pre-tape, I was thinking, listen, from what I remember, Jack got out-grappled by Burns. Belal is relentless with the wrestling. He's really, really good with the pace and the pressure, and he doesn't stop. So Belal probably wins. And look, in terms of a pick, if you don't care about my bets, you don't care about gambling, you don't believe in math and implied probability, who do I think wins this fight more often if you run the fight 10 times? Belal. With the information I have, Belal, because of the wrestling, because of the grappling, and because I've seen Jack Della Maddalena taken down by guys like Gilbert and previous fights. Angelusa got him down. A few guys got him down. But when I taped the fight, my opinion changed a lot. And you know what? Screw it. Let's make it the free bet of the week. I am on Jack. I didn't want to post anything because I played Jack at plus 200 and he's plus 165 now. So it's kind of just not right for me to be like, oh, by the way, guys, here's my bet. 2 days after I made it at different odds, but that's my free bet. I'm not going to make a whole post about it because I just didn't in time. I made the bet when he was plus 200, but at this point, he's not. Do I think plus 165 is still playable? I can't really tell you. I don't know that I would have. I probably wouldn't have, to be fair, to be honest with you guys. So I'll say that to start it off. But for me, this is 100% dog or pass because I'm watching Jack, right? And let's start with the Burns fight. Pre-tape, I remembered Burns just grinding him out for 2 rounds, and then Jack hit him with the knee, hurt him, and knocked him out. But Burns never actually really grounded him. He never really put him on his, not for long, on his back. Most of the control time was up against the fence. Burns would take him down, but then Jack would get back up. Burns would take his back, but Jack would get back up, scramble out, or work for it. Jack, his scrambling is really, really good. The second this dude's back hits the mat, he's already exploding back up, working his way back up, scrambling. He knows when you scramble, right? This is one of the things we learned in wrestling when I wrestled back in high school. When you're in a scramble position, right, a 50-50 position, who's going to win that scramble? The guy whose hips are higher. You have to keep your hips higher than your opponents. That's how you win scrambles. And Jack knows that. You watch him. He's always elevating the hips when he's scrambling. And his scrambling ability is very high level. His takedown defense is good too. He does all the right things. You know, you can look at UFC stats. You can see the numbers and whatever. But I'll tell you guys right now what I look for when I'm looking at takedown defense. I'm looking, are they fighting the hands? Because you have, that's the first lesson of takedown defense. You fight the hands. Are they using underhooks? Because that's another thing. You have to use the, if your opponent's got their hands clasped, you have to go underhooks. You have to break, you have to somehow start to break that lock. That you start that with the underhooks. You need good hips, you need good reaction time and good balance. And all those things, you see that with Jack. His takedown defense is good. He does the right things. He still gets taken down, but he does the right things when he's stuffing the takedowns. And when he's working his way back up, he does all the right things too. And against Gilbert never actually was able to really just establish control. I think he took his back one time, and that was it. And the entire time, Jack is working, scrambling back up. And I know some people are saying, oh, but Basso Hafez took him down a million times and almost beat him. Yes, true. But Jack pulled Gilly like, I don't know. Hafez took him down multiple times. Only I don't know what's going on right now with my alarm system. I think they might be installing a new fire alarm because my fire alarm wasn't working. But if you guys hear the beeping, that's what it is. And that kind of threw me off guard. Don't remember where I was before. But my point is, will Belal get takedowns here? Absolutely, he will. I'm super confident that he will get at least a few. I'm not confident that he can hold him down. I'm not confident that he can hold him down and land ground and pound. I don't think he can submit Jack. So at the end of the day, with Belal, will he get the takedowns? Yes. Is he going to do enough with them to win the minutes and the moments? I don't really think so. He doesn't normally have great control. He doesn't normally land big ground and pound. He's not really submitting guys. He can take the back, sure, but that's really it. He's not really subbing anybody. So because of that, it's like, okay, on the feet, Belal's striking has gotten better. On the feet, Belal's striking is good because everybody knows they have to worry about the takedowns, and that's going to be a thing here too. Jack's going to have to worry about the takedowns, so his striking might not be as on point as it normally is. So Belal might have more success on the feet than you normally would expect him to. But overall, Jack's a way better striker. He's a way better boxer. He hits harder. He mixes it up to the body so freaking well. I love the combinations from Jack, and he's, in my opinion, he's the better striker by a margin here. And he's the one who's way more likely for a knockout. If somebody gets one, it's going to be him, in my opinion. And then if I'm betting on Belal, I'm betting on Belal at -200 when doesn't have good control, doesn't have any finishing upside. So what? You're betting, you're laying chalk on him to just take down Jack and just hold him there, and then you hope that the judges score control over damage. I know judging's weird, right? We're told damage over control, but that's not always the case. I get it. But at the end of the day, Belal is not doing a ton of damage. He's I love the dude, but he's just not. And Jack is. When Jack's on the feet, he's doing damage. Every single second of the fight, he's doing damage on the feet. And because I don't think Belal is doing much damage on the ground, and I think Belal, his upside to winning is getting takedowns, I think this fight's going to play out much closer than people think. The way I see it personally, I think Belal shoots early and often. I think he gets those takedowns, but I think Jack scrambles back up almost every single time. I think Jack has good exchanges. He's winning the minutes on the feet. Belal keeps mixing in those takedowns. I think it gets a little bit easier for Jack to stuff them around the 2-3 minute round mark. Maybe a little harder further on in the fight because Belal's got really good pace and cardio, but Jack's never really shown me to be a guy who slows down. Jack's always shown me pretty good cardio too, and he's got that dog in him. He's going to fight for your money. So at plus 200, he was a pretty easy click for all those reasons. At plus 165, like, I might have just passed. Maybe I would still bet Jack, because even at this line, I still think it's dog or pass. I don't think you can bet Belal here as a moderate favorite. I just don't, because of what I said, because of the fact that he's not doing a ton of damage. And even like the Leon fight, right? I had him against Leon. I had him pretty big there for my standards. But Leon tends to wilt. Leon tends to quit if things aren't going his way. Leon tends to just not really be there half the time. Like he looks bored half of his fights. You can't say the same about Jack. Jack is in there, 100% in there until the fight is over. So for me, it's dog or pass. I'll pick Belal to win ever so slightly, but it's a major dog or pass from a betting perspective. And like I told you guys, I did bet on Jack. You know what? Screw it. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do Jack decision, because I'm kind of tired of saying this guy will win, but I'll bet the other guy. So I'm just going to, you know what? I'm betting Jack. I'll pick Jack to win. And that's it, guys. That's UFC 315. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Thank you for sticking here with me, for your likes, your comments, all of that. Much appreciated. I'll run through it one more time. I'll give my picks, and then we'll get out of here. As I said earlier, first off, if you want my bets, my notes, my breakdowns, that's all on my Dub Club. Link in the description of this video that gives you access to the paid portion of my Discord. All my bets, all my notes, all my breakdowns, all that good stuff. That's where you get it. If you want to join the Discord and just talk fights, you don't want to pay anything, you don't care for my bets, you just want to talk, it's free. The link to the Discord, the free section, is in the description of the video as well. In terms of the content this week, we've got tomorrow, I think I'll be on Wager Wars, still waiting for confirmation. On Thursday, we got the panel on 138 MMA, Tyler's channel. We'll be breaking down the fights. We'll be breaking down the entire card with 2 dope guests. And then I'll be posting my shorts probably tomorrow or Thursday, one of those. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I post every single week for every single fight on the card. I post a 1 minute or less breakdown of that fight, and I break it down for you guys, and I'll let you know what I'm thinking. So make sure you check that out when it comes out. And in terms of picks, we're going to go Katona, Lee, Barriualt, zero confidence. Sterling, Modestas, but need to tape more. Jasmine, I don't know here. I'm just not going to pick until I tape it, because I haven't taped it. BSD, but I haven't taped, and I don't have much interest in this Kyle Prepolec fella. Silva all day. Aldo, but dog or pass. Shevchenko, and we're going JDM. And that's it, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Jiggy Man, you just missed it. I do like JDM. And thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time.